Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of the JounaTime. We hold debates and discussions on the relevant topics related to the society. Today's topic of discussion is the UP's population control bill relevant? Is it putting the pregnant woman on stake? Are we as a country and a state ready to accept population control bill? We still have the mentality where we prefer a male child over a female child. So are we ready to adapt such a huge change? Can we do it? So we will discuss on it further. So the panelists for today are Mr. Pratik Ghosh, Mr. Archan Kundu, Mr. Prithwish Panda, and Mr. Abhilash Mishra. Firstly, I'll go to Mr. Pratik. So Pratik, what are your views about the current bill which the UP government proposed, and what are your takes on it?
So hello everyone. So as we all know about the recent population bill released by the UP government, which proposes two-child policy to control the state's population by drafting some measures, or rather by putting penalties as well as by incentivizing the people who follows the same. So according to me, the need of the population control in our country is of utmost importance because as we all know, we are in the verge of crossing China by population by the end of 2025. So at this point, some measures must be taken, not only in UP, but also across the states in order to control the population. But when we see that what are the points that has been drafted in the population control bill of UP, then we can find some loopholes there, and we can find some points which can impact in a negative way down the line. So basically, the fertility rate, which is of crucial importance, which denotes the population of a country. So in UP, according to the data, the fertility rate right now is 2.7, whereas it should be ideally 2.1 per thousand. Okay, so in order to reach the 2.1, that number, this bill has been proposed, that is being said. But I have a deep question that this bill might disproportionately impact women, especially the poor and the marginalized women. So yeah, this is my concern. So I feel this should be brought in front of the people, right?
Okay, so as Pratik said, yes, very rightly said that the women from poor section and the women who are from the marginal background can be harmed because this bill is having a lot of loopholes and there is nothing concrete about the bill yet. Like we don't know that what the government wants to say exactly, and is it the only method we can control the population? So now I'll move forward to Mr. Abhilash Mishra. So Abhilash, please unmute yourself and say, like, put your points.
Thank you, Ruchika, for having me. As Mr. Pratik mentioned that it comes with a lot of loophole, but I feel that the government has proposed this law taking certain things into consideration, and I like to drag all of your attention to it. First of all, the basic thing that leads to population is that lack of awareness, if I'm not wrong. So this government has made sure that they will be spreading awareness in the rural as well as the urban society of UP. And also we have seen that in India, basic problem, the main concern is population, due to which our country has not seen a sustainable growth over a longer period of time. So this bill will certainly help in that. And apart from that, as Mr. Pratik mentioned, that we will be surpassing China by 2027. So this law will certainly help us to buy some time. And this bill states that the state government will give promotions, increments, concussion in housing schemes and other perks to employees. And the person or the family or the concerned person, if they will stick to the norms, they will be getting a certain hike from the government as well. So I feel that there is no loophole as such, according to me. So yeah, that is what I'm pointing out right now.
So by this time, I hope all of you are aware about the UP's population bill, and I don't think I need to give a brief about it. So we'll move forward to Mr. Archan Kundu. And so Archan, what are your takes on the UP's population and bill, and how do you think that this is impacting the young couple and the growth rate? And what are the other measures, and how can we stop this except for the two-child policy?
Okay, so as you asked me that how do we stop this thing other than the two-child policy, I would like to say that the two-child policy is not something which is great about controlling population, because like we fail to learn from history a lot of times, and if we look back at our own history and Chinese history, then we will see that somewhere it will make us face a problem. Moreover, there in the very draft itself, there are some of the rules which like discriminates children, like whom do you consider a proper child and not. Like if I be specific, in section 7 of chapter 2, the bill says that the special benefits to couple living below the poverty line. It states that a couple will be gifted with an amount of 80,000 rupees for a boy child, while the couple will be gifted with 1 lakh rupees with a girl child. Now, I understand that it is under the circumstances of the reality which we face about girl child and boy child, but are we looking at the cons of it? Like, in some ways, maybe it will stop female feticide, but this can be a very dark business about children, which we have seen in news that couples are selling off their own child for money, and this can be a huge thing for them now. So that's a risk. Moreover, there are norms for the disability section that which does not consider disabled child as proper children. So that is a very wrong thing to do on the part of the government. But like adhering to the topic of today's discussion, that whether the women are facing a problem or not, then I would say yes, the women are facing a problem. But I would say, is it for the bill specifically? Then I would say I will not agree properly, because that is something which is a practice. The woman who will be discriminated due to the bill, that is due to the practice. So the problem lies in the fact that the women, that we abandon women, that we consider them to be weak, we consider them that they will face a problem, we consider them as a victim already. But I think that if you have to solve this problem, you can't change the bill. The bill comes with its own set of problems, but like the woman based problem, that is a different problem, and that needs to be dealt differently. The women need a separate set of empowerment in India for right now. Yes.
Okay, so Arjun, though I don't completely agree with you, but I like Prithwish to answer this. That Prithwish, what do you think? Like, my question was not that we consider women as a weaker section. It was not about that. It was like in a society where male children are still like in states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Haryana, Rajasthan, like male children are given more privilege, they're given more preference, you know. So I was talking that with the bills like UP's population bill and Assam, and now Uttarakhand is also planning to pass a bill similar to this. So my question is, women who are like the pregnant women, they are forced to take abortion pills, you know, when they get to know that no, this is a female child and not a male child, and since we can only have two child, so it's like women's health are on stake, their lives are on stake. Anyways, so I'll move forward and I'll ask Prithwish to speak on it.
Hello everyone. Hello Ruchika. So coming to the part of about women's health, see, before it was about a stigma that a male child like a powerful entity or within a family. And but what will be after the bill? It is quite strange because the government has already introduced some incentives of which the boy child, as Archan mentioned, the boy child will be getting, if a boy child is born, they will be getting 80,000, and if a girl child is born, they will be getting 1 lakh. So are we going towards a reality that will shift from female infanticide to male infanticide? If it happens, then both are bad. We don't want infanticides. Both are bad, and both are bad for a woman's health too. It is point one. And point two, which I have seen in that, is that there are the government employees. The government employees who have voluntarily done sterilization of themselves would be given extra price hike free water supply and some other grants by the government. And those who have not done it will not be given to it, but if they abide by it, they will be given some. Now, sterilization is a medical procedure. A medical procedure will have its own shortcomings. Not everyone will be able to accept those shortcomings. So, what about those people who won't be accepting those shortcomings? Will there be a debate with the government employees themselves about being sterilized and non-sterilized? If that happens, the government jobs will become a very tense scenario, a very unstable area, and no one would be liking, because it will give a rise to a new social taboo of being sterilized or non-sterilized. It will give a rise to a new social taboo that will bring up its own problems. So that was my take on it. Thank you for my time.
So the concept of sterilization for both men and women are equally not acceptable. And I agree with you, Prithwish, that we don't want infanticide. Like whether it's male or female, we don't want it at all. But what Archan said, I'll also agree to Archan on one point, that this can be a dark business. True that people can have female child because they're getting 1 lakh rupees in areas like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where people are illiterate, they don't understand things, right? They will just adapt it as a money-making thing. And this whole policy, which is going to, which is ultimately there to curb population, will turn into a dark business. So yes, I agree to both of you. So there are some questions for you guys. So I'll start up with Mr. Pratik again. So Pratik, what do you think? Is UP's population bill Chief Minister's gateway for the upcoming election? What do you think?
Yes, of course, means in the situation where there has been so many things which has happened regarding the COVID situation in UP. So what I feel is that to just divert the minds of the people from the media coverage of that, it might be a gimmick. Okay, but if we see that in the BJP's own MPs and the MLAs, okay, if we see in their children, yeah, it's more than three. Not only they follow the two-child norms, so according to that, they will be debarred from the government facilities. So will it be actually implemented? That's a big issue, or it's just a means a diversion at the point before, right before the election. So it's a matter of fact.
So you agree that the UP's current population bill is like the political propaganda of the Chief Minister Adityanath. You agree to it?
Of course, yeah, I agree.
Okay. So Archan, what is your take on this question? I'd like to know your views.
So anything that is introduced by a government, we all know it's done with the idea that it's for the elections. It is never to be implemented. We have seen BJP governments only curbing this very two-child policy from 7 states before, including Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Bihar. And so it doesn't make any sense that again a BJP government only is implementing this very policy. So yes, somewhere maybe it is a political propaganda, but I always believe that, in my personal view, obviously, that politicians have to practice what they are there for. They have to be political. They have to see their side of the business as well. But if the thing which they are doing is for the good of the people, that if it's benefiting the people, then I don't have any problem with it being a propaganda or not, until and unless it's not harmful for the people. In this case, there is no dictatorial form yet. And if we talk about today's topic, that whether the women are facing a problem, again, I didn't mean that show the woman as a weaker section. Yes, I used the wrong words. But the thing is that, let me see, if I say that the female feticide is being practiced, then there are many laws which helps to carve that female feticide within this bill itself. And coming to women health, I think both, as Prithwish mentioned, the reproductive health of both the sex is at stake if we look at sterilization, because last time when Indian government tried to do sterilization, there were around, what Sanjay Gandhi had done, that there were around the forced sterilization, there were around 1,800 deaths all over the country just because of this. And that's the government data. So we have full reasons after COVID to doubt that the numbers are probably even higher. So yes, the reproductive health is already at stake. Yes.
Okay. So very tightly said, Archan. So now we'll move forward to the next question I have. So an interesting angle to UP's population control bill is that anybody who is having, like all of you said, and like I know, and like the bill says, that any young couple who's having 2 or more child will be deployed of the government services and subsidies, and they'll not be given government jobs and everything. So what do you think? Like, क्या ये डर दिखाना सही है? Is it not the way government is trying to, जबरदस्ती implement the bill? That no, you have this fear that no, if you don't do this, if you don't follow government's rules and norms, then we'll make it through the government jobs, because all of us knows that UP and Bihar, major amount of people prepare for government jobs and government exams and everything. So if anybody who's having more than 2 children will not be given the opportunity, like the young people will not be given the opportunity to use government schemes and subsidies and jobs, then what's the point? So I'd like to know your takes on it.
So first thing, that because it's the UP bill, so it will have nothing to do with the Bihar thing. First thing. Secondly, that anything, if you want to implement it, you have to show what are your punishments. I can use a very informal way of like relating to it. These are the punishments for if you are not following the rules. So I think that it went on a very light note, and I liked it in a way that they are just carving they are not carving any freedom of speech or any rights of the people, which I was thankful for. Which we have seen before as well. So if it's like that, you won't get a scheme if you don't follow this rule, I think somewhere it's okay, because two-child policy, if according to what they are trying to implement, like I am not in favor of two-child policy, but if I am supposed to say that if they are trying to implement that and what should be the punishments, then I think the punishment is on the right track, and the incentives as well are good. Many people might not think about that, but those people for whom the laws have been actually set, they will very much like the incentives, and I think they will follow it. But we can never say what will actually happen. But yes, I think the incentives and the disincentives are okay.
Okay, Arjun. So the way you said that कि थोड़ा सा डर दिखाना is very important for any implementation. So my question was not that
no
obviously
when what are we scared of here? Like our ration being carved down to 4 units, that is not scary. If there is a jail penalty or a fine, that is scary. Or if we are not getting a government scheme, that it's in your control. They are telling you that do this, otherwise you are not going to get this benefit. So they are just carving a benefit which we might get. So we are not scared. Suppose if I tell you that I'm going to give you a specific benefit for something, but if you don't follow my rules, then you will just not get the benefits. Will you be scared?
Okay.
You won't be scared. You will just be like, okay, I can maybe. Then you will see which one you prefer: following my not following my rules, or the benefits. That's how they are giving the people a choice. Some
very rightly said.
Archan, I have a point.
Yeah.
I have a point.
Please.
That is what Ruchika said. थोड़ा सा डर दिखाना. That what I think is डर दिखाने से भी ज़्यादा अगर if we educate them. Okay, education is the most important thing which I think, which is if we provide them education, okay, then this population control will automatically be happen. Okay, so what the bill says is that the penalties are a person with more than 2 children will be debarred from the benefits. Okay, so some points are okay, but ineligible to receive any kind of government subsidies. Okay, so if we consider the marginalized section, their lives are already vulnerable, right? So if we again don't provide any kind of government subsidies to those people, don't you think it is making their lives more vulnerable?
And these are the exact set of people we are talking about when it comes to like curbing the population. So these are the exact set of people whom we need to control. So these are the exact set of people whom we need to, like, if you are saying that they won't face any penalty if we give a punishment which they will be like, okay, I don't care, then it's not a punishment. Then they will obviously not follow the rules. So there has to be something, some way they will actually follow the rules, right?
Okay, so what I think what Pratik wants to say is that if you think about the marginalized and the poor section, like, do you think that just a merry piece of paper or a bill can control the population out there? And by
No, I
just
don't.
not like, yeah. So my question was, just a second. My question was, which Pratik also asked, like in a very proper way, is don't you think this is going to be, in favor of the young educated people, and it is going to threaten the poor marginalized people who deserve some schemes and subsidies and some jobs from the government's end? So it is between the young and literate people versus the marginalized and the poor people. Do you think that this policy is fair enough for those people?
Okay, so like the thing is that
Okay,
this is
okay,
a
I'm not
very
just a second. So
oh,
my question was that, don't you think education is the only policy we can, create awareness about, or we can curb the population with? Like, it's the only measure. I don't think that just by saying that, nahi, if you don't do this, we'll do this to you, this is unfair, on their part, and people are anyways not going to listen to it. So I want to know your take on this.
I agree with you that
Please.
education is a way better policy than the two-child policy. And obviously, I was not going out of the bounds of the two-child policy. But if we consider education, there is nothing better than that, because we have seen examples of it that if we consider the literacy rate of Kerala, we have seen that this problem of population is much less in Kerala. And if we consider the literacy rate of Bihar, which is very low, we can see that there this fertility rate, as Pratik mentioned earlier, that it's very high in Bihar. So we can see that it's inversely proportional. The literacy rate and the fertility rate, they are very much inversely proportional. So yes, I agree with you when you say that education is something which is way more needed than the two-way policy. But if you are telling me that the educated people are getting the benefits of this and the poor people are not, then the thing is that this very law, how many educated people do you see who are actually, if we have to like look at the hierarchy of the society, who are actually on the upper hierarchies, upper stratas of the society, how many people do you see have like a huge amount of children? There are not. But when you look at these poor set of people, then you see that they have a lot of children, and that is where the problem comes in.
I will like to intervene here. Okay, so I don't know about the upper hierarchy, but I am from UP myself, and my father is also having 3 child. So it's, what do you think? I did not meant it in the way that only the. I'm not saying that it is benefiting. It's like the people who are educated are well aware of this population control thing. But the people who are poor, without making them understand what the policy is, or without making them understand that how important it is for state like Uttar Pradesh, which is having a population of 21 crores, to stop the population so that they can have access to natural resources and everything, like every kind of resources. So without educating them about the topic, we can just not come and implement, or start up with a bill altogether.
I would like to go with that. Ruchika, first of all, I would agree that education cannot be replaced with anything noted down on paper. But the paper would be understood only by the educated higher class people. Okay. So if higher class is monetarily, economically higher class people, they would understand the words of the paper and they would be agreeing to it. But the lower class people economically and the poor people, uneducated people, they won't be understanding that no matter how much you try to try to make them understand, they won't understand. They have to be made understood by the language they understand. They would understand what are the things that benefit them. If they are seeing that if by having two children, I am getting more government beneficiaries, then they would be following that rule. And education takes time. Do we have that time? Do we have that time to educate a mass population and then implement new population control bill? By that, we will surpass China and perhaps would be the only nation which will have a 20% or 30% share of the total world population. That is not acceptable. So just look at on the roads. You can just have an example on the roads. There are people educating everyone to wear helmets. How many do wear helmets? Everyone knows what happens if someone is not wearing a helmet. How many people actually wear helmets? This is education. It takes time. You have to accept that. Now,
Yes.
to make it
And
radical, we have to give incentives. That's it.
Ruchika, I would like to just slip in two lines that also the bill, also like in section 24 of the bill, it also introduces a school curriculum where the children will be taught about something close to a sex education. So I think that is the closest India has still now gone to sex education at school level. So I think I won't go against that in any way. It's better to have something rather than nothing.
I think. Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
you have education there as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, Abhilash, do you want to come up and say something about it, like your point of view?
uh, as Prithwish said that education takes time, but we have to start at some point of time. I mean, we cannot take a backseat that if in India the poverty takes place at the poor people or the people who are less educated, they are more they have more tendency to have more than two children. I know that, but someone has to take a step. Otherwise, it is not going to end now or never. That is the thing I wanted to say.
Okay. So, yes, very rightly said. But yes, I will agree to Prithvish that one point that yes, education does take a lot of time, and this is very true that whenever we go out, there are traffic police who are constantly telling us to wear helmets, but we don't. We think we're looking very cool, but that causes accidents, right? So, yes, Prithvish, I agree to your point. So my next question is that the notion of exploding population is deeply imagined in our society, and the idea of restricting couples from having more children keeps popping up as a solution. But do you think that only restricting couples from having more children can be the reason, can be a curb to population? What do you think, Prithvish?
We should not only be restricting. I won't use the word restricting because it's too harsh, but we should not only be educating couples to have less children, but also encourage them to adopt children from the houses so that the children would be getting a new home and it would be beneficial for the whole nation. So if we are only concerned about the babies that are being born as a part of population, then we are doing a half job, because there are a lot of children who needs a new home, who needs a new family, and that is also a way of population control, because if they integrate into one family, that will ultimately curb down the dependency ratio, which will again add up to the population control. That's my point of view.
Okay. So Arjun or Pratik, Abhilash, anybody has to say something on whatever Prithvish just said. I think yes, I agree with Prithvish that yes, if we do so, we're doing our half jobs, and adopting babies rather than being new babies born can be a very good measure of controlling population. Anyone?
Yes,
Arjun?
I agree with like I 100% agree with Prithvish, and like giving another perspective to your question, I think yes, like controlling the couples is important, and somewhere it also ensures like in the among the young generations, like it will also ensure somewhere safe sex, this bill, because of the curriculums. And moreover, there is an economic side to it, like sorry, ecological side to it, where if we have like less population through the couples, it brings in an economic ecological benefit. But if we look at the hindsight and look at the economical benefit, then there can be a very bad influence which was actually faced by the nations who tried to implement this, such policies of one child nation or two child policies. That is that when we actually carve the population like to two children, but we have a older population which is actually very huge. So we are actually, it looks somewhat like a reverse pyramid. We have like almost six people dependent on only one or two people. So the workforce, which is actually the young generation, we are cutting it down. We are actually cutting down the workforce. So the whole nation has a smaller workforce, but the older people who are not actually the workforce, they are the retired people who are, sorry if the words sound bad, but like this is the only thing I can come up with. They are sitting at home and not contributing to the GDP in any way. They have contributed, but they are not now. I'm not saying it's their fault, but they are not now contributing to the GDP. And they are dependent on the younger generation, which is the workforce. So we have a huge bulk of population which is dependent on a very small bulk of population. So if we cut down the whole population at once, that is a very serious problem we can face. So that will very much put the younger generations in trouble, the workforce in trouble.
Exactly. That was my question, and I got my answer. So
I would like to say something.
very tightly. Yes, of course, Abhilash.
So the point I am going to make right now is that don't you guys feel that population is one of the reasons that leads to poverty? Because I have seen, मतलब एक फैमिली में जो सबसे ज्यादा कमाने वाला होता है उनका एक एवरेज सैलरी होता है अराउंड 10,000 and they have around 11-12 children. So how will they feed all of them? This will lead to poverty.
Obviously, I agree to the fact that yes, अगर कोई एक कमाने वाला and there are 12 people to feed, it's going to be it does leads to poverty, and I think that is why like states and countries are planning a bill, right? Because the people are not getting jobs and people are not satisfied and it is causing problem, right? So the policy is ultimately the solution. That is why people are working hard on it, right? So yes, anybody else, if you guys want to
Yeah,
answer something.
I completely agree with what Archan said. And if we take the example of China, right? So in 1980, China implemented the one-child policy for the population control. And in 2016, they replaced it with two children. But the whole thing failed, as we all know. Now China has announced that they will allow parents to have three children because of the alarming decline in their working age population. This need to be noted. Working age population and a significant increase in the elderly population. Rightly, Archan said that if there is an increase in the older generation as compared to the working people, then it will impact harshly what happened to China. And this bill also kind of it promotes the one child norm. Okay, if we see the benefits, it has more benefits in the sense it provides free healthcare facility and insurance coverage to the child till they attain the age of 20. Then the preference to the single child in admission in all education institutions, free education up to graduation level, scholarship for higher studies in case of a girl child, and preference to a single child in government jobs. So they are kind of promoting the one child norm also, which I think this is not right, because we have to reach the replacement level, which is the fertility rate of 2.1. Okay, an ideal 1.9. Okay, because when two parents give birth to two children and the replacement gets attained, because the older generation gets passed away, then they get replaced by the newborns. So this thing should be kept in mind, and one child policy is very detrimental, what I feel. Till two child, it's fine, but the promotion of one child, I think it is going to cause us more harm.
Very rightly said, Pratik. So my next question is about like proposed legislation to control the population of UP is expected to impact women, right? Like as I want to say that women in Rajasthan and Haryana are still blamed. You know, even if after 3-4 trials they don't have a male child, they are divorced. They are not expected like accepted, and the child, if there is a child and if the child born as a baby girl, there is a whole tradition that they follow to kill the child. And there are illegal sterilization which happens for women. And women's sterilization anyway is very, like, it comes with some shortcomings, but women's sterilization is more harmful than male sterilization. So what do you think that this, like, in a country like India, where especially in UP or Bihar, Rajasthan, Haryana, people still have this mindset that nahi, humko to ladka hi chahiye for running our family. We don't want females to lead our family and everything, and unko to jana hi hai, and they don't belong to us, kind of mindset. If we have a mindset like this, can we accept population control policy? And will it be like okay to put women on stake? I would like to know your take on it.
Yes. See, whatever happens, if we are to curb down women's sufferings, then only thing is that we have to bring this in, and then we have to parallelly go with our educating not only the children but also the people who are newly wedded couples and are about to expect a child. We have to educate them too. As I have seen in some places in India, I guess, that they are being given a plant as a uh, prize, if I am to use that word, as a prize of having a female child. They are being given a plant so that they can plant it and nurture it alongside with the female child. There has been a traditions and there has been instances like this. But about if we come about curbing down women's suffering, then we have to stay long term with this population bill so that it becomes normalized. Unless and until the population control, population check, and these things, that gender equality, these things become normalized, we cannot expect that women's sufferings anyhow will be less. What will have become is the gender would just change from one suffering from one gender to another gender. Is that solving anything? I don't think it is.
Exactly. So
That's it.
my point is,
Ruchika,
that
can I add on?
yeah, you can add on. Just a minute. You can add on. Obviously, you should add on. So my thing is that like you said, Prithvish, that education takes time, right? I agree with you. Obviously, it takes time, and we have to start from somewhere. कहीं तक पहुंचने के लिए कहीं से तो शुरू करना पड़ेगा. I obviously agree with you, but the thing is that for young people, like जो अभी, like, for the women who are pregnant at this state, like who will be, like, who will be expecting children, like abhi after this law came in UP, what about them? There are still people, like, in my own family, who have this mentality that nahi, we want a male child. So the urge of having a male child is so giant and huge that it leads to female infanticide and women suffering. Because you guys must be aware of this thing, that abortion, after a certain month, you cannot abort child like that. There are some pills which women need to intake, very harmful for the women health. So ultimately it is again putting the women on stake. So are we in the right frame of mind to accept the policy? Yes, Archan.
Yes. First thing, suppose there is a woman, as you said, that there are a couple. They are not belonging to the open mindset. They follow the traditional mindset, the backward mindset, and they get two baby girls, and the man is furious. The law does not allow the man, even if the man leaves the woman. Suppose he applies for a divorce, he marries another woman, he can't have any more child, because on his part, then he is getting more than two children. So now the woman he is marrying, that woman has the rights to have more children for the second time. But this couple, the man and the woman who were married on the first place, the man does not have any rights to get any more children. Okay, according to the bill draft. So somewhere the man, I can always say that the man can leave the woman, but there is no way that the bill is promoting to any way that the female feticide. Now you can say that killing of a baby girl, the bill is not promoting it in any way. If a
you can
if
obviously
any
continue.
person, if
No,
any,
no, no. I will like to intervene. I like to intervene. I'm so sorry,
yes,
Archan. I did not that it is promoting, the thing. But my question was just, and also I have a question for you that you are saying that if a man leaves a woman, okay, and there is the divorce that has happened, the man cannot have a child and the women can have a child after she's having two child. Is it like that?
not the first
You just
woman.
said that.
Not the first woman. I said the second woman. I said if the man marries a second woman, the second
So
woman is allowed to
ultimately,
have children.
so exactly that is what I meant. A couple will have a child, right? So if a man marries another woman,
So no, no,
first,
no, 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 no. You can't technically. Then the second woman, if they are married, they can't have a child, right? Then the man is violating the rules because as a couple, if the man has even more children, then he's violating the rules and he will be then penalized, right?
Archan, then what if a divorced man wants to marry a divorced woman?
Yes.
Then what about that? Whose talk are we going to see? Will we see the perspective of a divorced man of not having a child, or will we see the perspective of a divorced woman having a child?
Okay,
correct.
then these are the loopholes we are talking about.
And one thing I would like to point out that the benefits and the point of marrying again for the sake of benefits. That's what I found. Right.
I would like to contest that, Pratik, that male vasectomy can be reversed. Vasectomy can be reversed. There are provisions of that, and medical has been doing it. It can be reversed. So also there comes a question that if a person gets sterilized once, then he takes up the government facilities and then reverses the surgery again, then what will be his consequences? Will he be again barred of it?
Right.
Exactly. This is a very good point about health issues. That if we actually promote the bill, if the bill is converted into a law, then there is mentioned in the bill that the people who are getting sterilized, they get insurance from the side of the government. Again, they also, even if they can't prove that it was, if they face some problems from the sterilization, even if they can't prove that it was a mistake from the side of the hospital or the surgeon who did it, performed the sterilization, even so, the government will give them an insurance, the couple who got sterilized. Now, on the second line of this very section, they mention that the government can make exceptions. So again, we give government a loophole to just run off from the very words they said. But the important thing which needs to be highlighted is that the government is saying that, yes, okay, you can face consequences. And that is the scary part. So if we are getting sterilized, obviously we can face consequences. But at least we have the choice whether we would like to get sterilized or not. So yes, you get the incentives only if you get sterilized. Other than that, you don't get any incentives.
So that is my thing. That what I said after, like initially when Pratik completed his putting up his point, I said that women's sterilization is more harmful than male sterilization. Sterilization का concept ही harmful है, लेकिन for women it's like more risky, than males. All I want to say, and if you go with like medical thing, and if you read those things, you will get to know this. So my concept again revolves around the same thing. So now I like Abhilash to talk about it.
Ruchika, first of all, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, that the urge of having a male child is so much in India that we see the consequences of it. But I think that
Especially,
it's yes, please go ahead.
especially in UP and Bihar, don't you think that they want a ladka more than a?
We are living in 21st century, and it needs to change big time. I mean, gender discrimination is not going to do any good to our country. So I don't feel that there should be some discrimination among the genders. Women are equally important, men are equally important. So I think that it shows the ill-minded mind of the people, and it's nothing to do with the bill as well. It has been seen. So this is the culture of India that we have been following, that male are more dominant, and it's more like
Exactly.
No,
That's what I wanted to say. I agree with Abhilash that it is not the bill which is the problem here. Here, the problem is the mindset of the people. So you have to, if you have to
exactly.
solve
So
that problem, it is not the bill can't be stopped on this basis. The bill has its own
I
set of problems, but this is not a problem with the bill that
I
the
am not
women are facing
saying
the
that
problem.
I am not saying that bill is generating this problem, but the thing is again that this problem parallelly exists, right? So when people are having this fixed mindset and mentality, how can we propose a bill like that? Whether the male can have all the incentives and two baby girls, and then he or she, he can divorce the girl, and then he can remarry also. Though if the sterilization is done, he cannot have more children. That's a different thing. But are you getting the concept? All I want to say, the point is that this problem parallelly exists. So I'm not saying that the bill is putting up this problem that okay, women are on stake. No, the concept of women's sterilization is a very big issue. That is what I want to say. It's not the bill, but the problem exists. So how is this bill going to benefit the women? This is my question.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay, guys.
Ruchika, in order to give us statistics according to what you said rightly, Uttar Pradesh women bear the burden of family planning. According to the National Family Health Survey, for 17.3% of women in Uttar Pradesh use female sterilization as their family planning method, in comparison to just 0.1% of the male sterilization. The female sterilization are more unsafe and irreversible in comparison to male sterilization or the use of contraceptives. That's what you said, and you are trying to say that. And according to a
Yes,
study by
absolutely.
bureaucrat Nirmala Buch, found that in 5 Indian states, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Odisha, and Rajasthan, where the two-child qualification was implemented in local bodies, sex selective and unsafe abortions increased. Families gave up their children for adoption, and men divorced or deserted their spouses to avoid disqualification. So this has already happened according to a study done by a bureaucrat. So we can it is predictable that these are the consequences, right? If it is implemented,
Yes,
that's what I
exactly.
would say.
Yes. So my last question for today's session is that improving women's education can be used for the reduction in fertility, like improving women's literacy. So by using this thing, women will know that okay, यहाँ पे I need to stop, and यहाँ पे I can fight for myself. So there is no women like which is who are going to suffer, and the policy can be carried out well. So what are your takes on it? I'll ask Pratik Bhaiya first.
Yes, absolutely. And improving women's education is obviously a better measure that I feel for reducing the fertility rate and to control the population. And recently, Bihar's Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has also said that when women become more educated and aware, population growth will be reduced. Right. So, and of course, in the cities, in the states, Indian states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh, we have seen reduction in fertility rates by improving literacy. Okay, and we have to enhance the access to family planning, and this will bring down the state's fertility rate. That's what I believe. Education is much more relevant. Education towards women, specifically in this case. Right.
Women, especially on this topics that what is better for them is very important. Okay, so
Yeah,
Archan,
absolutely.
Prithwish, Abhilash, your points on this or anything you want to say?
Okay, so yes, education is the solution, main key to many problems. It is the biggest weapon, as said by Nelson Mandela. It can solve any problem. So, although yes, Pritish said it rightfully that it takes time, but we have to invest time. Nothing happens without like time. We have to give it time, but so that we can ensure it takes less time, we have to start from today. And so yes, the women literacy about this thing is very important. I would like to add that women literacy mainly in rural areas about what rights they have, because many women don't even know what rights they have. That is also very important. And so, yes, education is very important, as we also saw that the fertility rate and literacy rate are very much inversely proportional. So that will automatically bring it down. But in a short term, maybe it might not work. But long term, yes, it is a very good step, not only for women, but also for young adults, for both
Young
male and
adults.
female. For both male and female, not only for.
Prithwish, Abhilash, anything else you guys want to add on?
Yes, education is of course very much important, and not only female education, female, male, both education are important, and more than it, sex education is important. And it takes time. We have to start it from somewhere. But if we wait for the complete education to go on, it will take years. So what we have to do is we have to implement this bill and parallelly start educating everyone about
Exactly, my
what
point.
their rights are, what their rights are and what they can do. That's my point on it. Thank you.
Yes, very rightly said, Prithwish. Abhilash, you want to chip in something?
So yes, like everyone mentioned that it all boils down to education. I mean, if you are educated, you will know about your rights, you will know about the parameters, and you will know about the awareness that can taking place. And the UP government, they have introduced a subject known as some population. I don't exactly remember their name right now, but they have introduced a subject which all of the students from class 8 onwards will be availing in the schools of UP. So they have taken this in, and that's a very good thing. Thank you.
Okay. So this takes us to the end of the session. It was nice having all of you. Thank you so much for joining the session. So at the end, I just want to say that gender discrimination, gender inequality, and this female feticide and everything, these things needs to be like checked upon. And with the current bill, I think the bill can be proposed and can be implemented, but parallelly, people need to think about the loopholes and I think the government needs to just clarify certain things, and then the bill is good to go. So yes, thank you so much everybody for joining the session.
I think we all should thank you as well for moderating the session so well. Thank you, Ruchika.
I hope it was well.
Thank you, Ruchika, for moderating the session so well.
Thank you for having us
For
here.
having us here.
Thank you. Okay, so ending the session.